There has been discussion around military sexual assault that our allies have gone to a different system. And the reason that this was talked about was in the context that Canada and Europe had gone to a different system in order to provide more protection for victims. We've had a chance now to take a really close look at those countries and what happened, and it's my understanding that those changes in their system resulted from a concern that there was not adequate due process protections for perpetrators. Is that your understanding as well, General Dempsey?
That is correct, and based on our last hearing on the subject, we've done a lot of research into why our allies, the 5 other nations, went that path, and it's not just because they wanted to protect the accused, but they were also mandated to do it by human rights courts in the European Union.
The other argument that's being made about leaving this in the hand of just prosecutors, civilian and or JAG prosecutors, is that this would increase reporting. I've had an opportunity to look at the numbers in Canada. We actually have 176 in 2007, 166 in 2008, 166 in 2009, 176 in 2010. Looked at the numbers in the UK. Their numbers have actually gone down over the last several years in terms of reports, from 54 to 40 to 40. In Australia, they've been stable at 82, 86, 84 over the last several years. In Israel, there had been a fact about reporting going up when they changed part of their system when it related to lesser sexual offenses a few years ago. There was testimony about their reporting going up 80%. If you look back at the numbers, there were 26 and now these are sex-related offenses total in the military. So everybody gets understanding the difference between the enormity of the challenges in our military and what they're looking at in Israel. 26 in 2009, 20 in 2010, 14 in 2011, and 27 in 2012. So yes, there's an 80% increase when they changed this between 11 and 12, but they only got back to the numbers that they had a few years previously before the change was made. Are you all aware in the research you've done that changing this system has resulted in an increased reporting anywhere in the world?
There is no analytical evidence nor anecdotal evidence that it has increased reporting. And furthermore, what my counterparts tell me is it has slowed the system down.
You mentioned, Admiral Winfield, in your testimony earlier that you all have taken a look at prosecutors' decisions in isolation. And I have some knowledge of this. There was discipline meted out in my office when I found out that prosecutors in our warrant desk, which was our intake desk, were getting lobbied by some of the trial prosecutors on their decisions because they didn't want any losers. They didn't want them to take cases that were going to reflect poorly on their one-loss record. Because when you're a prosecutor, there's a one-loss record. When you take a case to trial, you either win or you lose. And so your status among your peers, and in some instances, your upward mobility in your job, could depend on just your conviction rate. So when you isolate them with this decision, then there certainly could be instances where you would have a prosecutor that didn't want to take a close one, that didn't want a he said, she said. Do you have additional information that you can share with this committee in terms of numbers, of the number of times that civilian prosecutors have said no, military prosecutors have said no, but there are victims out there today that have had justice because the commander said yes?
I do, and I'll give you a couple of examples. The Marine Corps has had 28 cases. They've looked back to 2010, 28 cases where civilian prosecutors declined to take the case. And of those, 16 of them, the Marine Corps was able to obtain a conviction at court-martial, 57%. So those are 16 perpetrators that are no longer walking the street, and 16 victims who received justice who would not have received it otherwise. The more startling numbers are from the Army, and I'll repeat them. The Army has looked at 49 cases in the last 2 years. 35 of them, or actually 14 of them, are still in process. We don't know what's going to happen with those cases. They're still in the trial system. 35 of them have been completed. 25 of those, or 71%, resulted in a conviction at a court-martial. 2 additional ones were plea bargained down to a punitive discharge. So that takes the number up to 77% of these cases that civilian prosecutors would not take that resulted in some serious action taken against a perpetrator. There are some that were acquitted, understandably. Most of the ones who were found guilty have done hard time, are doing hard time, and have been given a punitive discharge from the military. And these were all done inside the chain of command. I would add, Senator McCaskill, that one of those, some of these are very heinous cases that the DAs wouldn't take. One of them was a 10-year-old autistic girl who was sexually assaulted. We took the case, the commander insisted on it, and a conviction was obtained.
Well, this is hard. We all have the same goal. But I do want to say, as I close this questioning, that anybody who characterizes me as someone who is protecting the Pentagon, that somehow I'm in cahoots with the Pentagon trying to hurt sexual assault victims, or with all due respect to you guys, I think you're terrific, but there is nobody who will be further in front of line to kick you until you're senseless if we don't get this problem under control. And this is not victims versus the Pentagon. And anybody who is characterizing that is doing a disservice to victims and is doing a disservice to the military and doing a disservice to the members of this committee who have spent hours trying to find the right way to make sure that we prosecute more cases effectively within the military. And I thank you both very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I can
Chairman.
take 10 seconds.
Yes.
I would like to just reinforce what General Dempsey said a moment ago, and that we actually are very grateful for the attention that the entire committee has given to this. It's been very helpful to us. And I also want to say that I look forward to our next chance to have you and other people with prosecutorial experience over to the Pentagon, as we've done before, and get your thoughts, show you what we're doing, get your expertise in there. I think that's a very productive opportunity for
You don't need to worry about me being invited. You know, as many of your JAGs will know, I call them. I am not reaching out because I'm getting, you guys are calling plays on this. I mean, you know, I was just infuriated at the article that was written, that this is somehow you guys, you know, pulling strings over here, telling us what to do. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I appreciate both of you and your commitment to this, but believe me, we're not going anywhere. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, may I just say on a point of personal privilege on behalf of Senator McCaskill, the implication that she is bought off by the Pentagon. She has been the spark plug in this whole thing from day one. And I want her to know how much I appreciate that.
And her prosecutorial experience, I must say, is invaluable to this committee, not just on this subject, but on a lot of other subjects, including this whole contracting problem that she has delved into with such tenacity and effect.